youngest of the 4 children of Eric Bannister. Eric was Cedric's older brother, and George Bannister was his younger brother. Thank you very much to Reverend Heather and the whole church community for the kindness that you have shown Cedric and Jerry and Tara.
Thank you.
Over many years. Thank you very much, Reverend Heather. The words that I'm going to say to you are from Yvette and Nigel and Monique. Yvette is my cousin, her father George Bannister, and these words are memories of Uncle Ced. It is with the greatest sadness that I have asked my cousin, to say a few words to you about our Uncle Ced. Unfortunately, I was not able to come to this memorial service due to family reasons. My memory of Uncle Ced is one of joy and happiness, and of an uncle who was so kind. He was intelligent and always there with a positive word. As a child, my early memories are of Christmas when he came over, and Mum and Dad getting ready for everything more excitingly than they usually would be. My parents knew how to entertain, and my goodness, did they entertain for Ced and Jerry. Eric, Cedric and George, my dad, 3 brothers that were so talented and handsome, full of talk and opinions. It's a Bannister trait. It was a very special Christmas, even though I was very young. I remember it still. I fondly remember Granny wearing her brooches designed by Ced with pride. I remember the 3 crisp new American dollars that came in the post for Christmas, usually arriving in March. And Uncle Cedric sent all of his nieces and nephews 3 crisp dollars every Christmas. As I got older, I found Ced to be one of the most interesting and knowledgeable people that I could ever chat with. No matter when you called, he was so up to date with the news, especially politics, and always had a good story or 2. I phoned him the Tuesday before he passed and discussed the up and coming election, among other topical issues. His voice had never aged, and after previous calls, I had told my siblings that I had heard a change in his voice for the first time. On my last call, he sounded even older and a little frail for the first time. He said his back was hurting him and he was unable to go out. He said he was feeling tired. When I said goodbye, love you, Ced, the way I always ended my calls, I had no idea it was the last time to say those words. I am so grateful those were my last words. Indeed, mine to Ced. I love you, Ced. Lastly, when poor Siobhan, that's me, had to give me the call to give such sad news that she had been given from Massachusetts, and asked me to call my siblings and tell them we chatted a lot about the fond, fond memories of our uncle. I had hoped to come over to pay with her to Cedric's memorial, to pay my respects and to represent our side of the family. I'm sorry that I couldn't. I want to thank Siobhan and Donal for doing this today on our behalf. The other reason I wanted to come over was to say a huge thank you to you all. To Cedric's wonderful, wonderful, kind neighbours and friends. From all of us, thank you. He never ever stopped telling us about your help and your kindness. He could not have lived at home without your support and your care. We all thank you all so very much, and I'm sure that the many fond memories that you shared with Ced will stay with you for a long time. Again, we say a huge thank you. Lastly, love you, Ced. Yvette, Nigel, and Monique. George's to you.
Hello. Siobhan has already introduced us. I'm Donald. I'm the son of Eric, Cedric's elder brother. There are two more of us, my elder brother Killian and our sister Orla, who couldn't be here today. I'm not going to give you a list of names of more extended family because that would seem a little bit pointless, but we all were touched by Cedric. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sort of history lesson, and there'll be a test afterwards before you leave, which sort of gives a little bit of context of our relationship with Cedric. My earliest memories of him are from February 1967. I don't know how I know that so specifically. I was 5 years of age, and this uncle, my dad's brother, visiting from America. And I had never met anybody so exotic. I had never heard of somebody with an accent like that, because he'd already taken on a North American accent. Him and my dad were very physically similar. My dad was only very slightly taller than Cedric, but then nearly everybody was taller than Cedric. And Cedric seemed to me to be like a sort of smaller, even better humoured version of my dad. There's a photograph of that visit with us all lined up, the whole family as it was then, lined up in our back garden, that Cedric took. But he's in the photograph. Now bear in mind this is 15 more years ago. He's in the photograph, and he took it on a camera that he put on a tripod and pressed a shutter release, delay release button. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing. The moon landings 2 years later didn't do anything. Fast forward a little bit. A couple of years later, 1970, I think, he comes back again with his new wife, Jerry. I had never met anybody as American as Jerry. She was one of so warm-hearted, absolutely amazing. And I'll never forget, at the airport, Dublin Airport, seeing them off to come back, she gave me a big kiss on the cheek, and I went, well, that is a big root. I just thought, well, never come across anybody quite like this before. A couple of years later, they came back with their new daughter Tara, who was just so lively and wonderful as well. And then in 1979, they came back again with another edition, Holly. And it seemed like he was just adding ever more increments of Americanness in the best possible sense to our experiences. Colin was amazing because we'd never come across a banister that was good at sport before. And I can remember playing rounders at the same garden where the earlier photograph was taken with Colin, and this 5-year-old catching and hitting the ball. It was just astonishing. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit more and say some more personal things. I'm a musician, as you may remember from Jerry and Tara's memorial from a couple of years ago. And Cedric and Jerry's influence on me was enormous. As I was getting interested in music, and particularly the trombone, packages would arrive from the States with vinyl records of things they thought I'd like to hear. And then in the early 1980s, I had the opportunity to study abroad. They suggested, come to the States. So I did, and I went to the Eastman School of Music over in Rochester. And during that year, they were astonishing. They treated me like they were a son. They were like surrogate parents to me. It could not have been better. I spent Christmas with them that year, which was, as you can imagine, not a solemn affair, came into this very building on Christmas Day. Got thoroughly pasted by Chloe in snowball fights. We don't get a lot of snow in Ireland. I don't think I could have contemplated having had the career I've had since, without their influence, and I'm eternally grateful for it. Now, my dad, Eric, died in 1998, and of course it was quite suddenly and unexpected. And of course Cedric came over for the funeral. And I had my relatively new girlfriend with me, Kate. And Cedric, in spite of the fact that there were lots of people there and lots of people to talk to, took time to talk to Kate. And a few moments later he came along, grinning from ear to ear, and said, "She's a keeper." I took his advice, we're still together. And we have 2 adult children. It's been, just such a thoughtful thing to do. And then, I've lived in the UK for many, many years. When Jerry and him visited Ireland, they, on more than one occasion, took the trouble to add on a little trip into the UK and come and see us. I remember particularly 2003, just after my son Jacob was born as a baby, and of course he was a baby when he was born. And they were just so lovely to my kids, Farron and Jacob, and like extra grandparents, and we had such a good time. So the last time I was here was for the occasion of Jerry and Tara's memorial, which is, to lose 2 members of close family in quick succession is not something you would wish on anybody, and especially wouldn't wish on colleagues, and then I was 3. But it seems cruel. But my reason for being here, could not have been kept away, is to say a massive thank you to Cedric, to Colleen's family, for extending their hospitality and warmth to me as if I was an immediate part of it. Thank you.
Hi again. I am going to keep this short. Too soon, Donna? The short joke? I, first of all, also want to extend my thanks to literally everyone. It really does take a village to keep us going. I want to just give you a couple of fun stories because I want to remind you of all the awesome stuff. First of all, the first time I knew my father was a big deal, I was actually in Ireland. It was 1979 and I had lost a tooth. I put the tooth under my pillow when I went to take a nap right before tea time. And as I thought I heard someone calm, because I wanted the tooth fairy calm, I kind of opened my eyes and then I closed them real quick. And then when I finally woke up, I got my Irish money. And I ran into tea time and I said, "Oh my gosh, the Irish tooth fairy looks just like Dad!" It's the first day I knew my dad was a big deal. I have been blessed by stories of some of you in this room, in fact, wearing his spoon bracelets and spoon rings and having things designed by him. It was definitely a love of his. He designed and created my mom's engagement ring. And although there was definitely a huge amount of love between them, my father wasn't romantic enough to actually propose on me. They were in a car on the way to Canada. Hi, Cheeseman family. They're on the way to see the Cheesemans in Canada, and my dad said, "When should we tell them the date is?" And my mom said, "What date?" And he's like, "Well, we'll probably get married, right?" And that's how he proposed to her. So that was one of my mom's favorite stories. I'm surprised you haven't heard that 100 times. It's a good one. Yeah. Once I learned it, I picked on him a little. I'm sure that's a shock too. But I am very proud to say that my father was kind of a big deal when it came to design and silversmithing. He was also a big deal in the music world.
And for anyone who has gone to the Pioneer Valley Brass, hi Dick, hi Jim, hi everybody. If you've ever gone to one of those concerts, he first played second trumpet and would basically give you the history and the storytelling, because he was really good at storytelling. He would tell you how the song became a song and the story of the beginning and the end of whatever it was that was happening at that time. And everyone knows that he knew everything. But if he didn't, he would research it and immediately find that out and then put it in that file in his brain for the next time he saw you. Even if it was years later. He would say, we were talking about, of course that person would like, what? But he would remember everything and he wanted to make sure that he would communicate that to you. About storytelling, literally the best I've ever heard. He would love to tell me the story of the first Christmas tree, O Tannenbaum. It was one of his favorite things. He loved telling me about Silent Night with candles on the branches of the Christmas tree. And if you have ever gone to our house in, November to January, you will see that it was adorned with 3 or 4 Christmas trees, only one of them being real, which ironically is usually out in the sunroom, but I'm sorry, I call it the sunroom. It's really called the Christmas tree room. But he just loved Christmas. He loved the music. He loved the spirit. He loved how it made people kinder and more gentler. And that's one of the things I hope you will take with you after this. I want you to remember what he loved about Christmas and then regenerate that everywhere you go. I love the fact that I got his humor. I love the fact I got his memory. It helped me a lot, didn't it, John, in college? Didn't have to do a lot of work if you could just remember it. But I love the fact that he gave everybody the love of art, no matter what form it became. Glass blowing, actual fine art. He and I used to go up to Mass MoCA to see modern art. We went to tons of museums, and until I was probably 18 or 19, I didn't have any interest at all in going to museums. I would try to run around the museum and see how many times I had to stop and someone would get me in trouble, usually my sister. But I still had such an appreciation for those, literally any art. Obviously, music was the art that they preferred, and thank goodness now I can annoy people by telling them what music is happening. Because when I listen to music, I see the score, and that's because of my parents. So whenever you hear a Christmas song or a song that reminds you of some joy in your life, I want you to remember those good stories about my father. Because he is so competitive. He really thought he was going to outlive me. And I'm just going to say, I clearly got my competitive nature from him. So there we go. I do, again, appreciate everybody in this church. Thank you, Pastor Helen. You guys have been amazing. Thank you, Sheila, for being here. I love the faces I'm seeing and people that I haven't seen in a while. I just appreciate it so much that you're here. Please come back to the parish hall after so that we can talk and we have some hors d'oeuvres, if you will, and just let us know what you're thinking. Okay? Thank you very much.